Fireworks will light up the sky this 4th of July, but there's something else explosive that will be lighting up scoreboards this fall. Big Ten offenses. Which Big Ten offenses will be most explosive in 2023?
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
You know, for the longest time, I don't think the Big Ten Conference was maybe the conference you thought of when you thought of explosive plays and big-time offensive yardage and points, but that narrative has been changed a lot throughout the last decade or so. Lots of great players and quarterbacks that put up big numbers, receivers that put up big numbers, running backs, right? The conference of running backs that is the Big Ten that put up big numbers, the best offenses, the best offensive players, some of the best units and players reside in our beloved Big Ten Conference. This season, 2023, yeah, that's no different. We know that there are players that can be on explosive units that maybe could take home Biletnikoff Awards, Davey O'Brien Awards, Heisman Trophy Awards as some of the most explosive players in the country. Okay, the first team I'm going to look at who I think will be some of the most explosive offenses in 2023, the Michigan Wolverines. And when you talk about Michigan, you start with the run game. There may be no more explosive running back in the country than Blake Corum. The last few years, his ability that once he's going to be able to hide behind that offensive line, and then once he's able to get to that second level, once he's able to get into the open field, ain't nobody catching Blake Corum. His ability to hit the big play and be explosive in the run game, I think, has carried Michigan to a new level, of course, with back-to-back Big Ten championships, and you can't forget about the Donovan Edwards as well, that contributes as well. But Blake Corum is a Heisman candidate because of his ability to be explosive and take it to the house 60 yards, 70 yards, 80 yards. When he touches the ball, he has that threat that 6 points could be put up on the board on that very play, on a simple handoff right up the middle. Now, one thing last year taught us as well for the Michigan Wolverines, it's not just the run game that can make this offense explosive, it's J.J. McCarthy in the pass game as well. 2 games really stood out in my mind, even though he put up big-time stats in some other games as well. Of course, the Ohio State game and then the national semifinal against TCU. The Ohio State game, when they were going back and forth, when they were trading scores earlier in that game before they really pulled away at the end, J.J. McCarthy was a big reason why Michigan came out on top the way they did, because of his ability to throw the deep ball against that Ohio State secondary, going over the top. You look at guys like Roman Wilson and Cornelius Johnson and others that have shown the ability to get over the top of the safeties to stretch the defense, and the deep ball is now a big-time threat for the University of Michigan. J.J. McCarthy via the pass game, Blake Corum and his ability to hit the big play in the run game. Michigan is ultra explosive, folks. And then you look at the TCU game as well. You know, of course, they ended up on the losing end of that game, but J.J. McCarthy, a big reason why Michigan was able to keep on clawing back and make it a game late against the TCU Horned Frogs. The combination of McCarthy and this explosive running game, no question, Michigan is an explosive offense entering 2023. Now, nobody has been more explosive in the Big Ten over the last, handful of years, decade or so, than the Ohio State Buckeyes. They have written the book on how to hit big plays over the top. I said it last year. I said it the year before. I said it to my buddies before Big Ten Ted was created here on YouTube. If you want to stop Ohio State, if you want to slow them down, if you want to beat Ohio State, you got to limit the big play. That's where the Ohio State Buckeyes make their money. because they have the best receivers in the country, and we know what kind of quarterbacks they have. This season is going to be no exception. They got the best wide receiver in the country in Marvin Harrison Jr. They got the second best wide receiver in the country in Emeka Egbuka. They've got the best playmakers on the perimeter. There's going to be a lot of big plays over the top. Defenses are just going to have to limit the big plays, but good luck with that. The run game, Travion Henderson, we know even though he was a little bit banged up last year, the year before, we know he's got the ability to hit the explosive play as well. The question mark for Ohio State entering 2023, of course, is the quarterback. New quarterback, but you got a 5-star. You got Kyle McCord. He's kind of continuing the trend of what Ohio State Buckeyes have been, at least before they've gotten into the starting quarterback position. And you got to think, man, with these weapons I could throw, I could be an explosive quarterback, and I'm sure Kyle McCord is going to be able to do that in this offense. No doubt about it, Ohio State going to hit some big plays, going to be very explosive here in 2023. I'm going to stay in the Big Ten East, and I'm going to go to College Park, Maryland. The Maryland Terrapins I'm going to talk about. Before in this video, we talked about the explosiveness in the run game from Blake Corum. A guy that's on his level, at least in terms of hitting the big plays in the run game, is Roman Hemby. I believe is one of the more underrated running backs in the Big Ten, right? Along with Devin Mockabee, you mentioned that last week. Roman Hemby last year, a 75-yard run against Northwestern, a 46-yard run at Indiana, and a 50-yard run versus SMU. And, of course, in other games, he pops off 20-yard runs. He pops off 30-yard runs. This is a guy. We've known about the Maryland pass game for a few years, but last year you really started to see the balance in the Terps, and Roman Hemby was a big part of that equation. His ability to pop off big first-down runs, his ability to get big games, to get into scoring position, to move the football down the field in big-time chunks really helped provide balance to the Maryland offense and, of course, make them a even more explosive unit. And, of course, you got to talk about Talia Tungavailoa, 12 300-yard passing games in his career, and they have, even though they've lost some receivers, they still have some good targets. Corey Dyches, I think, is one of the more explosive and athletic tight ends, not only in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. He's shown the ability. He showed the ability in the game against Purdue, where he was able to get over the top. Jashawn Jones as well, transfers Caden Prather and Tyrese Chambers. This should still be an explosive Maryland offense. Watch for this Maryland offense to maybe be the best of this era in the red, gold, and black of Maryland. Big fan of the script Terps coming back on the helmet, by the way. I'm going to finish things off with an offense that really hasn't proven anything, that really hasn't hit the field. It's very new, but I think it's going to be explosive in maybe a couple of different ways. Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Badgers. Phil Longo has proven that he can put together explosive offenses at the University of North Carolina. Tanner Mordecai has proven that he can lead explosive offenses at SMU. Let's start first with Tanner Mordecai because he could be explosive for Wisconsin. He could also blow things up and blow the Badgers' finger off by throwing the ball to the other team, by throwing the interception, which he's been prone to do in some situations. Cite the Wisconsin spring game, right? And they wanted to kind of go deep in that game, and Tanner Mordecai wanted to throw down the field much like he did at SMU. Tanner Mordecai, 8 300-yard passing games in 2021. You look at 5 300-yard passing games in 2022. Oh, don't count out a 9-touchdown performance, right? You look up explosive in the dictionary, 9 touchdowns in a single game. Yeah, that might do it. So Tanner Mordecai, you got to think, and Phil Longo, you put those two together, even though they haven't really proven anything yet, that is the perfect formula, right? You mix things together and it could be very, very explosive in Madison, Wisconsin. But you kind of have the pluses and the minuses. They're those kids that got their hands dangerously close to the explosives when the fireworks are set to go off. That's kind of maybe what you get a little bit with Tanner Mordecai. But another part of the explosiveness of the Wisconsin offense, of course, is going to be Braylon Allen. Now, Braylon Allen has been dealing with 8-man boxes, 9-man boxes, and he still popped off back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Now, with this pass game, there's going to be less guys in the box because you got to worry about all the targets on the perimeter, from Chemray DK to Skylar Bell to the new guys, Will Pauling to CJ Williams to Bryson Green. You got to worry about all these guys now across the formation, and I think that's going to create even more explosive runs for Braylon Allen. Allen has shown the ability, right, to get to the outside, to pop off a big yard run. How about 96 yards against Illinois State last season, that touchdown run? He's not the fastest guy in the world. He's not a burner. A lot of times he maybe doesn't separate himself on these long runs, but he still has the ability to provide explosiveness in this Wisconsin run game. The holes are going to open up even larger for Braylon Allen because of the pass game balancing things out in this Wisconsin offense. I can't wait to see all of these explosive offenses on the field in 2023.
Thanks for watching Big Ten TED, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten TED to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.